some great new technology today. So while we're here on Zoom this morning, we're also live on our Facebook page, and we've invited some pre-recorded guests to join us. Stephen Horn, who is an accomplished herbalist and a person who helped put this presentation together, and also Dr. Bregan, you'll hear from today. Okay, Mom, I'll turn it over to you. Thanks a lot.
Good morning. I am so excited about this. It's sort of neat to be able to just sit at home and enjoy class. And I know some of you haven't been able to attend the classes here local, but you're attending the online, and that just makes me very happy. So we may just keep doing this for a while, for sure. So first off, I want to tell you that we're going to do this again next month. The date will be June 13th at 10 a.m. And we haven't scheduled a topic yet. Got several things on our mind. And if there's something special that you want us to talk about, then let us know. I'm Cookie Tillman. I have been a certified naturopath for about 27 years. And during that time, I just keep taking classes and keep learning. And I'm really interested in the mind-body connection. I'm really interested in functional medicine, how this amazing living organism, body of ours works. And knowing that sometimes a symptom might show up in a place that has nothing to do with the cause. So just learning together, knowledge is power, and we really just want to keep learning. I also want to let you know that I've done lots of research on different supplements, on the purity, on the power, and I choose Nature Sunshine products because of their purity, their potency, and that equals efficacy, which is results. So that's the main reason why I choose Nature Sunshine. And if you don't have a membership, then please let us know. Memberships are free, and we can help you with that. Another reason that we choose Nature Sunshine is this. New York Attorney General ordered 390 DNA tests on 78 herbal supplements and ordered the nutritional sellers GNC, Target, Walgreens, and Walmart to stop selling those, because when they tested ginkgo biloba, St. John's wort, ginseng, garlic, echinacea, and saw palmetto, there were no DNA from the herbs in the supplements from those businesses. So truth in labeling is an issue. And with Nature Sunshine, we really get truth in labeling. Natural solutions for depression. So right now, I would like for you to close your eyes, put your hand over your heart, and I'm going to give you something to say in your mind or say with me. I love and approve of myself, and I trust the process of life. I am safe. That prepares your mind for this information. And we really are appreciative to Stephen Horn. Stephen's a master herbalist. He's been doing this for 50-some years. He also is a counselor with Nature Sunshine Company. And Stephen is a good Christian man who believes that God put our medicine on this earth in our food, and herbs are wild vegetables, so herbs are food too. So we're going to hear just a little bit from Stephen Horn. So occasional depression is normal. Just about everyone becomes depressed at one time or another in their lives. I'm sure you have, and I have too. So when we've lost a loved one, we've suffered a major setback in life, maybe a job, a home, or have to move when you don't want to move, been under stress for an extended period of time. Most of the time, depression is temporary and we'll get over it naturally given time. Sometimes we need a little support from some herbal medicine.
So as we go into this next slide, we're going to hear from Stephen Horn talking a little bit about some of the drugs and the drug problem on the market today.
Sometimes people get stuck in depression, and they need more help. But just because someone is depressed because they're getting older, or they've been stressed, or they've lost a loved one, doesn't mean they have a chemical balance in their brain. And yet most of these things are being treated as if they were a chemical imbalance in the brain. And the most common drugs used to treat depression now are selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. And they were originally approved for severe depression. Now they're routinely being prescribed not only for severe depression, but for this kind of mild to moderate situational depression, for anxiety. In other words, people just because they're anxious or nervous about stuff, or they're having problems with sleep or neuropathic pain, none of which is actually these drugs are approved for. But there's a lot of drugs that modulate serotonin. The SSRIs, the SMSs, and the SARIs. And actually, a number of these drugs contain fluoride. They're built on fluoride. You can actually see that in some of the names of the SSRIs, fluorohexene, fluoroxamine. And so there are sources of fluoride, which is actually a rather toxic substance to the body and the brain, and causes some imbalances. And there are, some normal side effects from these. Like there was a study done in 2009 of 700 patients taking SSRIs, and they found that 56% experienced decreased sexual dysfunctioning, which was the biggest side effect. But then there were a lot of people with drowsiness who gained weight, who had dry mouth, insomnia, nausea, lightheaded, and so forth. So other than the decreased sexual functioning and the drowsiness and weight, which is about half of the people taking them, most of the other side effects aren't anything, too alarming to be concerned about. But there are some really, really alarming statistics about this use of these drugs, and that is the black box warning. Black box warnings are the most severe warnings the FDA can issue. So in other words, they're very vital and important warnings. And the first one was issued in 2004, saying that SSRIs were associated with suicidal thoughts and behavior. Now that's remarkable. Okay, you got someone who's depressed, and you're going to give them a drug that one of the side effects is you start thinking about killing yourself, and maybe even try to kill yourself, or even successfully kill yourself. That really makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? No. That warning was updated in 2007 that basically said young people and young adults, so teenagers and young adults, are the most susceptible to this problem. And considering the fact that over 2 decades, right, the same period in which we've seen a dramatic increase of these drugs, we've seen a 30% increase in suicide, I would definitely say that nobody who is a teenager or a young adult should really be put on these medications. I mean, it really doesn't make much sense, especially since suicide is now the second leading cause of death behind accidents for kids, for young people aged 15 to 29.
So let's talk about serotonin and understand it. It regulates carbohydrate cravings and digestion, regulates sleep cycle, affects pain tolerance, promotes assertive behavior and the drive for self-esteem. 90% of serotonin receptors are in the gut, 8% of the blood, and only 2% of the brain. Serotonin is known as a neurotransmitter. That means that it's like telephone lines communicating with the other brain cells. It's located in a raphe nuclei in the midline of the brainstem, projects upwards into all parts of the brain and downward into the spinal column. Have a regular, slow, spontaneous level of activity during the day that varies a little. Slows down when you sleep, shuts down when you dream. The status of research shows that serotonin neurons are involved in our drive for status and achievement. Serotonin neurons push us to get our needs met. People who have achieved a high degree of status have higher levels of serotonin. I found that quite interesting. Psychologist Jordan Peterson says this is even true for lobsters. When a dominant lobster is defeated by a stronger lobster, the loser suffers a loss of serotonin. Given SSRIs, the losing lobster may return fight again. So SSRIs are linked with increased attraction.
Thanks, Mom. On this next slide, we're going to hear from Dr. Breggins, and we're going to actually hear some practical insights on serotonin and depression and the idea of debunking the myth of biochemical imbalances and examine what is known about mental illness. We're going to leave the presentation here for just a moment and go to his YouTube and watch him speak for just 3 minutes, okay?
I'm Dr. Peter Breggin, and this is the first in my series of simple truths about psychiatry. Today I'm talking about biochemical imbalances. Has anyone ever told you that you had a biochemical imbalance? Did you go to the doctor feeling anxious or stressed or depressed and have them say, oh yeah, it's genetic, it's biochemical, you need a psychiatric drug? Well, you might be surprised to learn that the only biochemical imbalances in the brains of people who see psychiatrists are the ones put in there by the psychiatrists. We don't have any evidence that any routine psychiatric problem, from anxiety to depression and even schizophrenia, has anything to do with a biochemical imbalance. So where did an idea like that come from? We know the answer. It was actually made up by the brilliant minds at the drug company Eli Lilly. Even before Prozac was approved for depression by the FDA, Lilly was sending its minions, its paid physicians and consultants, out into the world to say that depression was caused by a biochemical imbalance, and in particular, a kind of sluggish serotonin neurotransmitter, just not enough serotonin working. But Lilly knew from the beginning that it wasn't very simple, that this drug Prozac wasn't exactly going to jack up your serotonin like it was supposed to. The whole idea behind Prozac was that it would block the removal of serotonin from those active places in your brain called the synapses. You know, here's one cell and it's dropping Prozac into the, not Prozac, here's one cell and it's dropping serotonin into the synapse, and here's the other cell and it's picking up serotonin, and then comes Prozac and it blocks the removal of the serotonin from this space. And that's supposed to mean you're going to puddle serotonin, you're going to increase serotonin in the synapse. Well, in fact, and Lilly knew this before the drug was approved, the brain doesn't like to have the serotonin puddling in its synapses, and the brain responds by stopping producing serotonin. It responds by increasing its ability to remove serotonin. It responds by becoming less sensitive to serotonin. So from the beginning, it was a flim-flam. It was a PR claim that you got biochemical imbalances and Prozac's gonna fix it. So, what do you conclude from this? People who have emotional problems, you, me, we all have emotional problems. We don't have anything wrong in our brains. And if we do, if someday some of these problems turn out to be caused by something going on in our brains rather than in our lives, in our emotions, in our hearts, in our feelings, if it turns out to be so, then psychiatric drugs aren't fixing them, because psychiatric drugs are causing biochemical imbalances in your brain. They get in.
So that's a great 3-minute introduction to Dr. Bregan's myth and debunking the myths of biochemical imbalances. We'll share this webinar with you again on a replay by email later, and you can go watch the whole video for yourself. We're going to go back to our presentation now and begin to get into some of the natural solutions.
So let's talk about God's medicine, natural. So most of the time, the cause of depression isn't physical. People get depressed for a lot of reasons. We've already mentioned those. Depressed people usually need assistance in learning. Pastors, ministers, and even good friends may help. Counseling has the same success rate as drugs without the potential side effects. That's good. So, grieving, there's 5 stages: denial and isolation, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Not everyone experiences all 5. The stages don't appear in any particular order. Depression is a normal part of a grieving process. It's not a disease. And I was given information many years ago that we were created a star in our Creator's eyes. And our journey on earth allows us to become the brightest star we can be. And STAR stands for surrender, trust, allow and accept, and then rest. So self-care, put yourself first. It's important. Eat healthier, fresh fruits and vegetables, and adequate protein. And keep in mind that protein also comes in vegetables. Broccoli has a lot of good protein in it. And exercise, walking for 30 to 60 minutes a day, fresh air and sunshine. It's just uplifting, and get a good night's sleep. So try some basic supplements. So anti-stress vitamin supplements, B complex, vitamin C, nervine, and adaptogenic herbs. We talked about adaptogens last month. You guys probably remember some of that. The B vitamins are water soluble. Everybody needs to put extra B vitamins in their body. They're known as the stress vitamins. They help you cope. Omega-3 essential fatty acids. Omega-3 is best known as fish oil. We also get omega-3 from raw walnuts, from avocados, from ground flaxseed, and the essential means that we have to put it in our body. Our body doesn't make it. And algae supplements, spirulina, blue-green algae, chlorella, and those are all helping keep your acid-alkaline balance. It's called your pH balance, which really reduces stress And then there's some Chinese formulas that really help with the basics of what your body needs.
So on this next slide, we're going to hear from Stephen Horn on addressing specific issues in depression. But before we go on, I wanted to remind you that we're going to be reviewing some of the Nature Sunshine combinations that are featured on this slide at the end of the presentation. So make sure you do stick around.
Now, beyond that, beyond just some basic self-care and talking to someone or whatever, you look a little deeper, and if there are some other health issues going on, then you would address those specific health issues related to the depression. And the first one is inflammation. There's recent research that suggests that there is a link between chronic inflammation and depression. The link does not appear to be that inflammation is a direct cause of depression, but that somehow increased inflammation is also linked to, in a way we don't fully understand, an increased risk of depression. And they found that by taking things that reduce inflammation, it also tended to reduce depression. So if a person has signs of chronic inflammation, like they're feeling a lot of aches and pains, their tongue is dark red and purplish in color, which is kind of a sign of in Chinese medicine of a low-grade heat in the body, or their blood work shows high levels of C-reactive protein, which is a strong indicator of chronic inflammation, then take some stuff to reduce inflammation. Curcumin or turmeric is really beneficial, or a formula that contains turmeric with boswellia, mangosteen, and willow bark. And of course, the essential omega-3 essential fatty acids could also be part of that as well.
So essential oils are absolutely awesome. Rose, bergamot, pine, helichrysum, and these oils are available through Nature Sunshine. And then there are flower essences. And Stephen has put together some awesome flower essence combinations that work beautifully for the emotional health combined with the nutritional needs. They self-heal, love lies bleeding, bleeding heart, borage, California wild rose, rescue or distress remedy. And I want to tell you, Stephen mentioned inflammation and C-reactive protein. The next time you have blood work done, request that the doctor orders CRP, C-reactive protein, and homeocysteine. Those are inflammation markers that don't always get included. Stress and burnout, symptoms of stress-related depression, high anxiety and nervousness, severe fatigue, loss of interest in life, low libido, feeling I just can't cope anymore. Those are symptoms. Adaptogens. Here again, we talked about adaptogens last month. Shizan, Eleuthero, Korean ginseng, kava kava, adrenal glandulars, the B complex, Chinese fire increasing formula, and we're going to tell you what that is later. Take a vacation and get some rest, get more sleep, meditate and pray. Use affirmations like we started with. Evaluate your priorities and let go of what is less important in favor of what is more important.
That's great, Mom. These are all great suggestions and information. On these next slides, we're going to hear from Stephen Horn again about disturbed methylation, and we're also going to learn from him about SAM-E and the connection between toxicity and depression.
Now, if there is a little bit of a biochemical imbalance in the brain, it most likely is disturbed methylation. because a disturbed methylation, this is a genetic thing that could be going on. If a person has a definite tendency to depression, this could also happen because, honestly, if you're severely abused when you're young, it can upset the biochemistry of your body, which part of that could be disturbances in something like methylation. But the undermethylation is the one that we're principally talking about. And you can tell that a person is undermethylating if you get blood work and it shows high levels of homocysteine and histamine, and they have a tendency towards allergies. And if they take SSRIs, they feel better. A person who is an overmethylator will feel worse taking SSRIs if they are depressed. SAMe is a methyl donor, aids methylation, and there's some pretty good research suggesting that it can be helpful for mild to moderate depression. It appears to help enhance the mood-enhancing neurotransmitters, dopamine and serotonin. By the way, serotonin is not the only neurotransmitter involved in mood. You also have dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine, and so forth. So it's kind of just mythological to think that just adjusting serotonin is the only thing that you're going to do, even if you're trying to tweak the brain back to normal. SAMe also aids liver detoxification, aids methylation, which gets rid of excess hormones and neurotransmitters. But overmethylators don't respond well to SSRI or SAMe. Now, years ago, my office manager's husband had some mild depression. He'd had some accidents that were keeping him from doing the work. He was always working in construction, and he hurt his back and couldn't do it. He was somewhat depressed. SAMe worked very well for him. He had some symptoms indicate he was undermethylator, and the methyl donors really help. Tricyclic antidepressants, since it is a naturally occurring compound with relatively few side effects, it's a potentially important treatment in depression. It acts rapidly off in a few days. It does not have a withdrawal reaction. So if you're taking SAMe and you stop taking it, your body doesn't have the severe withdrawal. Now, at one time, depression was called melancholia. And in traditional Western medicine, melancholia was like the melancholic personality, kind of the sad, depressive personality. I think of them as the Eeyore personality. If any of you are familiar with the characters in Winnie the Pooh, the Eeyore goes around complaining about everything, blah, blah, blah. They thought that was an accumulation of black bile. Now, the closest thing we might indicate to black bile is toxins. And there's a lot of serotonin produced in the gut. So there's a lot of research that indicates that gut and liver health have a lot to do with feeling good. So if you basically aren't detoxifying very well and your gut's kind of distressed, that can contribute to the negative feelings. That's one of the reasons why the key regulating formula is helpful, because it works on the liver, the gut, and helps to rebuild those things, which is working on some underlying causes of depression. And I found it to be very helpful for a lot of people.
So, age-related depression. As a person ages, they may become depressed. This may be associated with dementia, early stages of Alzheimer's, and some possible remedies would be ginkgo, ginseng, gotu kola, DHA, and omega-3 essential fatty acids. Female hormones. Women who have depression associated with PMS or menopause or postpartum depression are often low in estrogen. Women who are abused may also suffer from hormone-related depression. And possible remedies include black cohosh and damiana. Get back in touch with your feelings and take responsibility, and those flower essences will help you with that. Male hormones, low levels of testosterone in men can lead to depression. Fluoride and xenoestrogens can contribute to this. Possible remedies for that would be Korean ginseng, damiana again, sarsaparilla, zinc. Zinc's very important. Build wins for yourself. Masculine energy needs to achieve and feel good. Low thyroid. Low thyroid can create low energy levels, which make a person feel mildly depressed. You know, if you don't feel good, that just affects you physically and mentally. Those symptoms could include fatigue, weight problems, dry skin, low body temperature, high cholesterol. Feeding the thyroid gland with a hypothyroid formula containing herbs like kelp and dulse, those are rich in iodine. Ashwagandha may also be helpful. So working with depression, don't treat it symptomatically. Get in touch with what's getting you down. Try to understand what you need that you're not getting and find a way to fulfill your needs in a constructive manner. Seek out help and support from others. Prayer and learning to count your blessings can also be grateful, be helpful, and you should be grateful. There's some awesome herbal remedies. St. John's wort. Many of you have heard of St. John's wort. It's known as the remedy that brings in the light. That's why we started with this little light of mine. Helps regulate the solar plexus, the nerves which regulate digestion. It's good for depression associated with digestive problems and anxiety. It helps strengthen those gut instincts. It can help nightmares in children who are feeling over vulnerable. It can modulate a number of neurotransmitters in the brain, and it also reduces inflammation. It should not be used with antidepressant drugs. Black cohosh is helpful antidepressant for dark, brooding emotions. Feeling like you have a black cloud over you, feeling trapped in darkness and unable to get free. Continue getting entangled in addictive, abusive relationships. A feeling that you're spiritually struggling with the powers of darkness. Needed in very small amounts. Part of a capsule, drops of a tincture as a flower essence. Damiana, indicated for nervous exhaustion causing depression, mental fatigue, physical fatigue, poor concentration, and poor sex drive. For depression in the elderly, used with rosemary or rosemary and sage. It has a nice mood elevating effect. It can help a person find something they lost where on the road of life. Rose. The essential oil or flower essence of rose can open the heart to ease sadness and grief. Rose helps a person be responsive to love and open to relationships. Rose works well with mimosa to comfort the heart. Rose works well as a flower essence with bleeding heart and love lies bleeding. Rose has the highest vibration of any plant on earth. Lemon balm. Lemon balm works as a mood elevator in depression brought on by grief. Use the herb or the essential oil. Lemon balm is uplifting and energizing. Lemon balm combines well with mimosa and or rose for grief-related depression. You can combine with St. John's wort to treat seasonal affective disorder. And keep in mind, the essential oils work by just breathing them also.
And then mimosa.
Sorry, I wanted to give Stephen Horn a proper introduction. So, Mom, thanks. We've got 3 more slides and 3 products that we'd like for Steve to kind of present a bit before we get to our questions and answers. So if you do have some questions, be thinking about those. And the next 3 slides, we'll be able to take some of those. Here's Stephen Horn.
And then mimosa. Mimosa, it calms the emotions, opens the heart, relieves tension, eases bad temper, lifts depression, reduces insomnia and irritability. It's a really good remedy for, again, depression with anxiety. The bark is the better antidepressant. The flowers create a little bit of euphoria and giddiness. Now, I made a tincture of the flowers. I found that, mimosa grows around here in southern Utah. So grabbed a bunch of flowers, packed them in a jar, covered them with brandy, made a tincture, shook it for 2 weeks, kept that. And I thought, okay, that's nice. And then I have these wonderful roses. I have a number of rose bushes in my backyard, and the way I pick rose bushes is I don't pick them unless they're in bloom, and I smell them. And I'm looking for the ones that I really love the smell of. And this one is the most intoxicating, wonderful rose I've ever smelled, one of the best. Planted it in my backyard. So I took a bunch of the newly opened rose flowers, and I shoved them in a jar, and I covered them with glycerin, because glycerin will extract essential oils. You ever heard of rose water and glycerin? So basically, I was just making my own rose water, a little bit of water, but mostly glycerin, and basically extracted them as a tincture, and I mixed that with the mimosa. And talk about something that was just, like a hug. It was like an herbal hug. It just made you feel warm and fuzzy. So it was a wonderful little remedy I created from mimosa. I like mimosa. I mentioned borage. That it was one of the flower essences I used with people who are struggling with heavy-heartedness, grief from sadness, who've lost heart. They've lost the courage to face life. It rebuilds the adrenal glands. It promotes cheerful courage in the face of adversity, brings out the playfulness in a person, and helps them keep going. The borage oil has a little bit of that quality. The flowers, you can actually eat the flowers or use the flower essence, is the way that one is used. And then kava. Kava is also a little bit mildly euphoric. It's a good herb for relaxing muscle tension and helping with anxiety. So if a person's tense and anxious, and that's part of the reason why they're having problems, it can help reduce stress, reduce the stress. I should have said helpful for depression brought on by chronic stress. That was an error on the slide. Can help a person sleep better if they're having problems with sleep. It also can be sometimes a little helpful for age-related depression.
This is an awesome product. Adrenal support. This has vitamin C, B1, B2, B6, B5, those B vitamins, magnesium, zinc. It has potassium, and it also has adrenal substance and licorice root and schizandra fruit. An excellent support for the adrenal glands, and the adrenal glands are all about keeping a balance of stress. Nutri-Calm. Some of you will have told me that you will not be without this. Nutri-Calm also includes vitamin C, B1, B2, B3, B6, B9, folic acid, B12, B5. It also has bioflavonoids in it, lemon bioflavonoids, hops, passion flower, and valerian root. It's an awesome support for the nervous system. This is a formula of Chinese herbs. The Chinese fire increasing formula is what this is described as. and it has Gisandra fruit, which a lot of us are familiar with, and astragalus, sacred lotus seeds, ginseng, and other Chinese herbs. This nervous fatigue formula may be perfect for you. And if you're not sure what's right for you, let me help you.
Each one of these pages we're featuring today has the product description, how it works, and the ingredients just below. Many of you are familiar with the website, so we just wanted to use the site to help share that with you today. You could also click to see the label. So lots of information available on Nature Sunshine site as you're doing your shopping each month.
Yes, and the last one is a flower essence. And the name of this one is Release It. And that's what we want to do, release the stress. This is a self-heal flower essence. It has Love Lies Bleeding flower essence, Bleeding Heart flower essence, borage, which Stephen talked about, yellow star tulip, and these are liquids that you use in conjunction with nutritional needs. These are just a few of what's available. Also, we have, the Nature Sunshine has a couple of real special packages. These two would be an awesome way for you to start your journey with good support.
Well, with that, we'll wrap up today's presentation. Thank you all. We wish you all the best in wellness and be safe. And we'll speak to you again on June the 13th. Goodbye, everybody.